Good evening. It's Friday evening, November 8th, and we are just now this evening beginning the very last step in our journey of 5 days of writing out the storm, the Writing Out the Storm Intensive. We have been writing out the storm and looking at this storm of life from the standpoint of several different key elements for our lives. The first evening, we looked at writing out the storm with self-awareness. The second evening, Tuesday, we looked at writing out the storm with balance and equanimity. Wednesday evening, we took a deep dive into the concepts of compassion and self-compassion. On Thursday evening, we spoke together about the concepts of grit and resilience. And tonight, we're going to round out this teaching and this journey that we've been on with the concept of hope. Hope. Without hope, we have a hard time living. Life is based on hope. But there is a paradox, a puzzle about life and this concept of hope. The only constant that we have in life is that there's change. If we're having a very difficult situation, a really hard emotional response, maybe we are having a very difficult time of feeling angry and frustrated. We seem to feel like we can't ride out the storm. We're not really sure if we're going to be able to manage this part of our life. But there is a change coming. That's the paradox. We can keep two wildly different ideas in our head. And the wildly different ideas in this context are that, on the one hand, we are just surrounded with difficulties and perhaps struggling to find a way out. But on the other hand, hope is waiting for us. There's change coming. And it is cause for rejoicing. If I'm in a miserable state, something will happen. And eventually I will no longer be in quite that miserable of a state. So tonight I'd like to invite all of us to go into a deeper look, to go deeper into life, into a wider reality, a curiosity, and awareness, and breath. Jesus, who was also a rabbi, answered people's questions with questions. Have you ever done that? Somebody asks you a question, you don't really want to answer the question, so you ask them a question. Well, Jesus didn't do it in exactly that same way or with the same kind of motivation. He asked questions to get people to dig deeper, to begin to think on a deeper and more profound level. Many of his parables seemed paradoxical. They didn't seem like they made much sense unless you dig down in. They might even seem like they're not going in the direction that you think they should go. Jesus kind of messed with people's minds. Sometimes he left his disciples just kind of hanging. He would not explain the parable very, very completely, and sometimes not at all. But he was messing with their minds out of love for a reason, so that they would dig deeper down into some deep, important truths, find themselves there, find more love, find the kingdom. We too, at times, need to dig deeper into the reality of our lives and to what's going on. We come through pain and loss, through the assistance, the help, the comfort of friends, of community, the effect of others' love, of our own love, the love and grace of God, of the universe. We come through pain and loss from the love and care and compassion of others who are there to alleviate our suffering. We're flattened. We feel like we're just totally through, like we can't make it another day, like we can't get up out of bed to carry on our life. but the liveness is within us won't let us stay down, won't let us remain flattened, because the aliveness, the life that's within us is electrical, it's powerful, it's sacred. Life and aliveness is what we feel deep down inside of our spirits, inside of our hearts. Maybe not all the time, but we feel that life force within us from a moment here, the vibrancy of excitement of something wonderful in a moment there. And these pulses and impulses within us go on from time to time, and we're not necessarily aware of the extent of them. The life forces within us, the life of our spirit is within us, and we do not have the sense sometimes of what's really going on inside of us or outside of us. But within our homes and within our environments, there is life. Within our spirit, there is life. I shared with you the other night a little bit about my father's passing and how profound it was that his life was there one moment. His essence was there looking at me, trying to say something to me, trying to once again say goodbye, I love you. And then he was gone. And the life force was gone. The energy of his body was gone. He was no longer there. When we feel hopeless and we feel like life has flattened us, sometimes we get so down, we isolate ourselves and we want to crawl back into a cave. We want to just find a dark, quiet place, maybe our room with the curtains closed. And we just feel like we could just stay there forever. We don't want to come out. We're afraid to get out and face the day because maybe we're feeling overwhelmed and we just can't imagine a positive change. But what do we need when we're in that kind of state? First of all, I believe we need some comfort. We need some peace to come to our hearts and minds so that we can begin to breathe and have a sense of who we are once again, draw on some inner resilience and get up and start moving again. We can't find peace for other people, but we can find peace for ourselves. We can't fix someone, no matter how much we'd like to fix them. We can't fix things for them, even though we will step in and try to help. Everyone's journey is individual. So finding that hope and strength within us to continue on day after day, even when it doesn't seem like anything good is happening, finding that strength within us to continue to move forward and to know that the fact of life is that change is the constant. And many times the change that happens comes around to being a positive change, a change that brings hope and energy and life again to us. We often have a desperate drive to just somehow fill that psychic hole we have. Whether the psychic hole is related to childhood trauma, the feeling that perhaps we just didn't bond with anyone as a child and our capacity for love is somewhat damaged. The psychic hole that we may have because of trauma or abuse or neglect. We have this drive to somehow fill that psychic hole, and we don't naturally as people know how to do that. We need people who are healers. We need spiritual guides. We need spiritual healers to help us be healed. We have these difficulties and old wounds, and this drive to fill this psychic need is really doomed because we don't know how to fix it. It's kind of like going to a hardware store to get some bread, going to the grocery store to get a hammer. You know, we don't know where the answers are. We don't necessarily know who or how we can find hope. Human beings have common problems and common joys. We've talked about the commonality of humanity, what we are as humans and how we have many things in common with other people. We don't need to think of ourselves in isolation. And the truth is almost everyone is screwed up, broken, clingy, scared. We all have areas of our life that we feel are just really kind of messed up. We can look at ourselves as broken, damaged human beings, imperfect human beings who are striving to do better. And yet, in all of that, we are truly designed for joy. We weren't designed by God for sorrow and pain. That wasn't the Creator's purpose. It wasn't His purpose that we suffer. But without suffering today, we can't really understand what joy is either, because they're kind of an opposite type of feeling. And those who are not able to feel much of anything can't feel the good or the bad. Now, I talked yesterday about how when we're in isolation, we often just shut down our emotions. We think that some particular emotions are so evil and so bad that we stop them up. We can't even express them because we don't know how to express them appropriately, or we've been told numerous people in numerous ways that our expressing that emotion is unacceptable. So we live in isolation in those kind of situations. And what happens there? We don't have any joy either, because we're closing down our hearts. One of the things we've discovered this week together is that when we have self-compassion and self-awareness, we are more able and have more strength and energy to be compassionate and aware of other people. As we develop a love and understanding of ourselves and appreciation for who we are now and who are we becoming, and we learn to let ourselves off the hook and somewhat forgive ourselves, over time, we will develop those same characteristics towards others. And the opposite is true. As we work at developing our love and care and compassion and forgiveness to others, we will also be able to give that same measure to ourselves. Without that ability, we really can live in a very negative mindset, where all of our own demons and our own pain seems to just ooze out our pores, just kind of oozes out into every situation, no matter how hard we try. So when we find ourselves recognizing our imperfect, messed up, goofy thinking, perhaps it's time to take a deep dive into that and really try to see what's going on and look for someone to help. We should have some affection for our crabby, grouchy selves. We should have affection for our goofy selves, for our lovely selves. Sometimes people don't like themselves too much. They look, we look at ourselves and what do we see? We don't see the joy. We don't see our smile. We see flaws. My hair is sticking out over here. I'm getting a turkey chin. We see the flaws. We don't automatically see the glory. We don't see the joy. We don't see the luminous quality of our spirit. We just see all the flaws, Today I was brushing my hair and there was, in the light in my bathroom, I saw this little hair sticking out. And I thought, well, that is strange, because my hair is turning almost white. And there was a black hair kind of curling out here. And I was like, what? And I pulled it out thinking, what, I'm messing with my hair. And there's one little hair that's bugging me. And I pull it out. And then in the light, the end of it, that had been at the end, not the head end connected to my head, but the other piece, about a half an inch of it was white. And the rest of it was black. I've never seen such a thing. I mean, dark hair is supposed to turn white, not white hair turn dark. So bizarre. That's a crazy story of the day. But there's an illustration of how picky we are about ourselves, right? We We look in the mirror and we don't see the general, we don't smile at ourselves. We don't say, I'm loved, I am worthy, I am thankful for my day. I believe that this is the day that God has made. We just look at all this and, fix this and fix that. Why is that? Because we naturally tend to go towards the negative and the critical and the self-critical. That is not what we're designed for. We're designed for joy. And as I said earlier this week, joy is one of my favorite words. Far more than happiness, joy is an important word to me. And then maybe that's partly because my mother is a joyful person. Her name is Joyce, which means rejoicing. And finding joy in some small thing was her advice to me over and over and over during those years when I would call and express to her how lonely I was. Joy is portable. We can take it anywhere. Joy is a habit. Joy is good cheer. Joy is curiosity. Joy is surprise and often a decision. Joy is having a few amazing friends in our life. I believe that some of you that I'm talking to tonight are already becoming my amazing friends. And I'm very thankful of that. I'm very, very thankful for some new amazing friends because it's been a long time since I had an amazing friend. So when we pay more attention to our inside, to our internal world, and also what's going on outside of us and around us, we're really halfway home to the whole concept of being hopeful and having hope in our life. There are no short fixes for this, and it's not an easy path sometimes to maintain hope. But when we forgive ourselves and we forgive others, then hope shows up. When we choose joy, hope shows up. When we realize that I'm not the only one screwed up, everyone's screwed up, and we all have our own version, hope shows up. Because we are wired for hope. If you've ever sat with someone who is at the last and was ready to pass, many people show the hope that they have within them. They're still fighting for life. They still want to be alive. They still want to communicate with their loved ones. They want to be present. They wait sometimes to pass on until the people that they love are present and are there, and then they're ready to go. Why is that? Because the bonds of love with their loved ones keep them there for a little while longer. And they have hope for where, God willing, for where they're going. But their love for their family and their love for their friends keeps them alive. Because life feeds on joy. Life feeds on love and relationships. When we're curious about what's happening in our lives and how that we can develop joy and compassion and self-compassion and awareness and balance. When we're curious about these things, we're going to seek out answers. We're going to find ways to create our own reality in those areas. Because we're made to be curious people. We're made to be joyful people. We see that people at the end of their lives are still looking for life. They're still looking for joy. They're still looking for love because life is flowing through them. Life is them. Life flows through us. We are full of life. Every cell in our body is full of life. Hope and peace have to include, though, a certain sense of impermanence. We know that our lifetime has its limits. There's a set amount of time that we're going to be here on this world. So things are somewhat impermanent. And if we try to hold on to what we have and really make it feel very permanent, we may actually obliterate some of the love and beauty and light in our lives. We may mar some of the love we have if we're just hold on to things too tightly. If we have an open spirit and a willingness to share and to be more balanced in things, then we can notice that Our relationships are gradually healed. There is more joy and contentment. There's more balance. There's more hope and peace in our lives. So where can we find stories to tell ourselves about hope and peace? I imagine some people would say they find hope and peace by going out into nature, which is a wonderful place to go and a wonderful way to find hope and peace. Go out and look at the mountains, take a hike, go out by the side of a lake and see the sunrise early in the morning, the sunset. We might see the power that there is in cooking when we begin to work with ingredients and water and oil and butter and spices and vegetables and meat. When we cook, we see something that we create that gives us joy. It feeds our bodies and it feeds our spirits with the wonderful taste and the smells. Other places that we can find joy is in music. We all have our preferred type of music. I like lots of different kinds of music, but when I was growing up, we had a pretty narrow amount of choices. My parents were pretty conservative about their music, and we had classical music, traditional classical music, a lot of Christian music. And my dad also liked band music, which was interesting. So one fun thing he did when we were children was he, as a pastor, on Saturdays, he would go to his office after breakfast and have some time there studying, preparing for Sunday. But then about 10 or 10:30, he would come home. And meanwhile, my mother and my sister and brother and I had all done our chores and kind of cleaned the house. So he would come home, and we had a tradition for a few years of watching some cartoons together between 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then my father would turn on big band music and give us some dust rags and other things, just to kind of fun, take the dust rag, and we would march around the living room to the music, dusting things and playing like we were cleaning. It was his little game with us. Well, that was the way he used music to bring joy into our lives. It was actually a lot of fun. Artists say, let me paint something. Let me draw something that might help our understanding of life and of ourselves, something that will help us change, wake up, something that will help us be inspired to awe or kindness. For a long time, I've been doing off and on a lot of art. For about 10 years now, off and on, I've painted abstract paintings, including this one that's here behind me. To me, when people say to me, well, what is it? Or I see an elephant's head or something like that, I'm like, they try to get me to explain, what is this painting all about? And really all I can tell you is that for me, the creative process of choosing the colors and the marks and the textures and what kind of tools I'm using and how I'm layering layer after layer after layer of different colors of paints going different directions. To me, that process is what just gives me joy. And there's something within my spirit that at some point says, okay, this painting is done, It's done. I wish I could have like a video of every time I worked on it. I should have done that with one of them, and maybe I will. So I could actually see this process, how the building happens. But I've had a few of them that never did really say they were done. I would get them to a certain point, and then I was like, I just really don't like this painting. One of them, I had a really big one. It was a 5 foot by 6 foot. And that thing went through 4 different times of painting it. Twice, I just took gesso and white paint and painted the whole thing over and started over. I don't know. It was something about that when I could not finish it. And I'm still not really satisfied with it. But if you ever come to my house, which God willing, some of you will, you'll see it. It's on the wall in the living room. But this process of painting is one thing that's given me joy. It's a time of meditation for me. It's almost a Zen thing, as they say. So what could we do as seekers of hope and seekers of peace? What's something we could do to actually foster that within us? I'd like to suggest that one of the best ways to do that is to play. How many of you have played recently? Have you played with dolls? Have you played with children? Have you played with your pet? Have you played in some way? When we play, it's part of developing trust with someone else. Play opens the heart. It opens our heart to delight and focus. Play also is learning how to wait, maybe to wait for someone else's applause. Wow, that's beautiful. You did a great job if we're making something. Or perhaps in play, we learn to let someone else go first. When I was a kid, we played lots of games. And I have a whole stack of different games. And once in a while, when grandchildren are here, one of them remembers where they are and goes and opens a little door on the huge television cabinet and pulls out games. Excuse me. One of the games that I got last year, that I purchased last year, was a Uno set. Has anybody played Uno with kids? It's lots of fun. But the set of Uno cards, the cards themselves were 8 by 10 inches. Every card was that big. They're huge and heavy. So we had 3 or 4 of the families together for Christmas. No, it was Thanksgiving last year. And about 8 of the children and some of the adults sat on the floor in a big circle with these monstrous Uno cards and played Uno with these cards, throwing them down, going at the game, having so much fun. There was so much laughing and joy. And then they took the cards and they built things out of them and tried to stack them and they got them this high and literally like 4 or 5 feet off the ground with all those cards. Sometimes just doing something out of the box like that, just to play, can just bring a level of hope and joy into our lives that we're really missing. Jesus said that we need to approach God as little children. And I've thought about that a lot. I don't think he really wants us to approach him too much with all of our agendas. God, I think we should do this, we should do that. Just bless me as I do this or I do that. Or universe, just, I need this power so I can do this or that. And that wasn't the teaching of Jesus. And he said we need to approach God with a childlike heart, just open and playful and trusting. But the human condition is that we really are both a mess and wonderful. We have hurt and we have tenderness. We have struggle and pain, and we have joy and hope. We have all of those things. And we experience love as a gift between God and us, a gift between others and us. Hope changes things as we get a little older. Let's see, today's the 8th, isn't it? All right. In 8 more days, I have a birthday. And this is one of those momentous ones where I've gotten my new Medicare card. Woo-hoo. Amazing to me, so crazy. But as we get a little older and we are more mature and we have friends and relatives that are facing the end of their lives, maybe the idea of hope and joy is something we need to cultivate even more than we ever have before. Because out of the hope and joy that we have, we can share with others who need it. And also, cultivating hope and joy and grace in our lives gives us strength, gives us power, gives us energy, gives us resilience, gives us compassion. We need hope to undergird all of the areas of life that we want to develop. I've been reading a book by Anne Lamott about hope. Amazing book. I really recommend her as an author. Excuse me, let me get this cough drop out. My throat's been bad all week. This is a quote she had there. Life is way wilder than I'm comfortable with, way farther out. As we used to say, more magnificent, more deserving of awe, and I would add more benevolent, well-meaning and kind. Waves and particles, redwoods, poetry, this world of wonders and suffering, great crowds of helpers and humanitarians. Here we are, alive right now together. I could worry myself sick about melting ice caps, arms races, and polluted air, as at the same time I look forward with hope to the cleansing rains, the coming spring, the warmth of summer. As John Lennon said, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. And as this has always been true before, we can hope it will be again. We have all need to come through things. We need that ability to sail right on through the rough waters of life, to rise above the struggles and the messiness of the human condition. But against all odds, no matter what we've lost, no matter what messes we may have made over time, no matter how dark the night may seem, we offer and are offered kindness, soul, light, and food, which breathe spaciousness into our lives, which create hope sufficient for the day. So as we wrap up this last evening of our 5-day journey, riding out the storm, again, I'd like to offer a short meditation, and this meditation is about hope. If you would like to join me in this, feel free to just relax into your chair and get a little bit comfortable. Gently close your eyes, or if you prefer not to, just kind of soften your gaze. Think about a recent rainstorm, maybe just a gentle rain that fell in your neighborhood, in your city, in your block, on your car, on your house, in your yard. Think about the rain that gently falls and breathe in this moment. Inhale and exhale, softly breathing, your body relaxing, breathing and concentrating on the thought of your breath and the thought of the rain. As you breathe in, the calming rain enters your awareness and invites you into this meditation on hope. I bring your attention to this present moment and to the awareness of this rain shower of hope. A shower of hope, of peace, a shower that cleanses and releases any weight of suffering and pain. Shower of healing rain, pour over my body, cleanse and release the crusty barriers that hold me away from love, compassion, and acceptance. In this moment, I open to the wind through my hair, the rain on my back, the sun rays that find their way through the clouds to warm my face. The rain and tears may mingle together to wash away darkness and debris. Light of hope, return now to me as I hope open again in awareness. You were here all along. I see you. I feel you now, dear hope. My heart, my spirit open fully, and I settle into the lap of love. There is nowhere else to go. I'm resting now. It's okay. Peace, hope. In this moment, I rest in this peace. I breathe in the freshness of the new day. I smell the green grass. I hear the song of a bird once again. No more deaf ears that might blind me to a precious gift of hope. My senses remind me that I am alive and I can let go. Let go of the pain, let go of the suffering, let go of frustrations, let go of doubt and fear. I can let go into the peace that enfolds me now. I lift the veil of hurt and sadness that has kept the illusion of being alone alive. Shower of hope, renew me now. I receive your healing balm, and I choose to step forward into my life once again. May your heart be blessed. May you feel love and hope. May you know that you are loved. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live in peace and hope. Be blessed tonight. Thank you for joining me.